Hello everyone, my name is Christine Garcia, and today we are going to look at a major real-world cybersecurity case, the 2019 Capital One data breach. A data breach is when private information is stolen from a computer system. This one affected over 100 million people. By studying what happened, we can learn important lessons to protect data better. What happened and the root cause? First, let's talk about what happened. In July 2019, Capital One Bank announced that a hacker got into their systems. The hacker stole the personal information about 106 million people, and this included names, addresses, phone numbers, and even credit scores. For some people, it was even worse. Their social security numbers and bank account numbers were also stolen. So, how did the hacker get in? The main reason was a misconfigured firewall. Think of a firewall as a security guard for a computer server. In this case, the rules for the guard were set up incorrectly. Capital One was using servers from Amazon's cloud service called AWS. Because of this setup mistake, the hacker used a common trick to fool the server. Once she was inside, she found login credentials that had way too much power. These credentials let her access the huge storage folders where all the customer data was kept. So the problem was two mistakes. One bad setting that opened the door, and then too much power given to the system inside, which let the hacker take everything. The damages and cost. This breach was extremely expensive for Capital One. The costs came in two forms: money and reputation. First, the monetary damages. The total cost was nearly $300 million. Where did that money go? First, it cost money to identify and contact all 100 million affected customers, and then the bank had to provide free credit monitoring services to those customers, and then they paid an $80 million fine to the government because their security controls were not strong enough. A lot of money was spent on lawyers and fixing their computer systems. Second, the reputation. The damage to the organization. The biggest loss was trust. A bank's most important job is to keep your money and information safe. When they fail, people lose confidence. This breach also led to a massive class action lawsuit from customers. It was a public relations nightmare and distracted the company from its normal business for months. How to prevent a future breach. Now let's talk about the most important part, how to stop this from happening again. The Capital One breach teaches us three key prevention methodologies. Number one, use the principle of least privilege. This is a simple but powerful rule. It means that a person or a computer system should only have the exact access it needs to do its job, no more. In this case, the credentials the hacker found had too much privilege or power. If those credentials had been limited, the hacker could not have reached all the data even after getting in. Number two, automate security checks. Human makes mistakes. When setting up complex cloud servers, companies cannot just set it and forget it. They need to use automated tools that constantly scan for and fix misconfigured settings, like the firewall error in this case. As the Dark Trace 2019 article explains, this breach proved that companies must rethink cloud security and use smarter tools. Number three, improve monitoring to detect hackers faster. Capital One did not discover this breach on their own. They were alerted by someone else months later. Companies need better 24/7 monitoring that looks for strange behavior. For example, If a single user suddenly starts downloading a huge amount of data, the system should raise an alarm immediately. This could have caught the Capital One hacker much sooner. In conclusion, the Capital One breach is a very clear lesson. A small configuration error led to a $300 million disaster. It showed that in today's world, security has to be proactive and smart. The way to prevent this is to go back to basics. Give only the access that is absolutely necessary. Use automated tools to check for security mistakes. Always watch for unusual activity on the network. By learning from Capital One's mistakes, other companies can build stronger walls to protect our data. Thank you. Here are the references I used for the Capital One breach data.